welcome viewers to Real Talk, produced by Let's Talk America Radio. Of course, we come to you often with the conversation you want to know more about. And today I'm so excited to have someone to the show. She is new with us, but she's not new in her area of expertise. I'm talking about the one and only, the happiness advocate, Mona Shah-Joshi. Mona, welcome to Let's Talk America Radio.
Thank you, Shayna. It's an honor to be with you.
Super excited to have you on. It's talking about one of my favorite subjects, talking about happiness. And today we're going to put the spotlight on the secret to a happy relationship. So many of you out there, I'm sure you're anxious to hear this one because it's so much to relationships, be it romantic or be it platonic or be it within the family structure. Mona's that expert and that advocate, and she's going to talk to us about how to get that done. And I have a feeling, Mona, you're also going to allow us to reflect on ourselves because so many people, will talk about, well, that person did that to me and they did that. But often they leave themselves out of that equation. So you're the right person to get us back on track, but you're going to keep us happy and content while you do it. So she won't beat up us on us too much, viewers, but it's going to be a great conversation today. Okay. So Mona, before we get started with our Q&A, we have a tradition here on Real Talk produced by LTA Radio where we ask our exclusive guest to sort of introduce us briefly. I've seen your bio, I've seen the resume, it's super impressive. But we want to hear from your own words exactly how did you get here? This journey is such an important one, but I'm sure it didn't start overnight. Take us there.
So, I am an Art of Living teacher, and I've been an Art of Living teacher for the last 26 years. And the journey of how I got there is very interesting. So, I remember in college, I would take courses in African American history and culture and African American women's studies because that cultural um, landscape of having a double vision of being a woman of color, of being in the United States and not being part of the dominant culture was the one that most addressed who I was and how I was trying to understand myself to be. So there was a moment in which I'm standing at the Symposium from African American Women's Legacy at the Smithsonian Museum. And it's the end, we're all applauding. It was a beautiful event. And tears are running down my eyes because I suddenly realized, I still don't know who I am. And so I took a semester off of school. I went to India and I researched. I collected oral histories, not knowing that I was doing an anthropological study at the time, just moving on gut instinct. I collected the oral histories of women of the Jain religion, which is the religion in which I've been born into. And in that process of that journey inward, I came across this breathing meditation program called The Art of Living Sky Meditation. And this program transformed my life. So, this is how that journey started.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Mona. And you did it perfectly. You didn't have to extend it any or shorten it any because that gives a lot of insight on who you are and where you are today. So I want to dive right into it because you talk about really knowing your journey and being having the foresight to say what you need before we dive into relationships. Okay. Is there anything we need to be aware of about ourselves? So much like you did an inner search before when you were in college and realized who am I, and you made that journey to India. And for many people, it may not necessarily be travel or whatever it is for different reasons. Maybe it's finances; they can't make that happen. But before we evaluate relationships in our life, be it romantic, be it platonic, be it family between mother and child, what should we first know about ourselves, or at least be frank about ourselves in terms of realizing?
Sheena, that is the most profound question you could ask because you have to know yourself. And you have to know yourself free of concepts, not, oh, I am this person, I am that kind of person, I like this, I don't like that. Drop all of that and find out who you really are beyond all those labels. Those labels can change. They do change. And even the roles that we play change. At times you're a mother, at times you're a daughter, at times you're a partner to someone, at times you're a friend to someone. So, beyond all those labels, beyond all those identifications, who are you? And that actually is what I would call the first secret to a happy relationship is discovering who you are. And how do we do that? We do that through looking inwards, through introspection. And what guides us in that, I believe, is meditation. Because meditation allows us to transcend the realm of thoughts. It allows us to enter a space that's just pure silence. And if you look, as I mentioned, I was a student of African American history and culture. And when I was after having taken this program, and I was reflecting on the lives of Martin Luther King, Sojourner Truth, even Malcolm X, every single person said that spirit called them to do what they had to do, right? Now, if you look at children these days, they don't have access to that spirit so often because there's so much noise in their environment. And even as adults, there's so much noise around us. I mean, I'm not talking about the voices near in our home and the joyful voices of children. I'm talking about the noise that's in our own heads, the noise from podcasts, the noise from constantly listening to the radio or whatever it might be. Where's the silence? And so meditation allows us that escape on a daily basis to just be with ourselves, free from other distractions, and get to know who we really are. And from that space, when you connect with someone, it's on a completely different level.
Wow.
Because when you're happy, you'll attract someone who's happy. Otherwise, it's an unhappy person looking for somebody else to complete and fulfill them so often, right?
Yeah, and that's such a great point. And I've heard so many people talk about relationships and romantic relationships that some lasted, some did not last. But it seems to be a common theme for those that are being real about it in their own way. And I'm paraphrasing, and some say it in different formats. But they will say that when it comes to a romantic partner or spouse or lifelong soulmate, that when it comes to happiness, that doesn't rely on them. Mona, they're saying that lies within because they're saying so you right. I mean, you and I know this, right? You can have the so-called whatever the ideal of perfect mate is, but if you're not happy within, you will find everything wrong with them because you're looking at the world through the viewpoint. As the old adage says, we tend to see what we look for, right? And the other end, if someone is happy, even though there may be tough times in a relationship, they're able to remain perhaps more hopeful of that relationship. And not just talking romantic now, any relationship, because they're able to sort of look through and say, let's push through. And obviously, and when we talk about relationships on this episode of Let's Talk America Radio, obviously, Mona and myself, we are conversing in the sense of sort of generalization, right? Because we don't want anyone to be in an abusive relationship of any type, be it physical, emotional, any sort of neglect type, and say, well, yeah, maybe it is me. So we're not saying that, obviously. But we are saying for the purpose, Mona, and I know you would agree that we're talking about for those relationships that not on that spectrum of that sort, for people to really say, how am I looking at life? Am I being hopeful? And it's interesting, Mona, because we had a conversation last week with Dr. Chloe, a very popular, well-known clinical psychologist, and she said, to a large degree, it's an attitude that exists. And when you meet someone who's given up hope in life in general, she says they're toxic for relationships. Do you agree?
Shayna, I loved what you said about being happy. Because you can be happy and be in a relationship, you can be happy and not be in a relationship, and vice versa also. You could be unhappy in a relationship and you could be unhappy single. It doesn't matter. It has to do with you. And that actually, I would say, is the second secret of happiness, of a successful relationship, is to realize that happiness comes from within. Because so often people look for somebody else to make them happy. And in that process, what are you doing? You're setting yourself up to be miserable because you're making something outside, external to you, the source of your happiness. When truly that fountain of joy is flowing within you, and others are just that trigger. And yes, it's an attitude, it's a mindset. Because in any situation, you could, in the best of circumstances, you can find something to complain about. And in the worst of circumstances, you can find a reason to be grateful, to be joyous. And I love that you did bring up that caveat of we're talking about a particular form of relationships, not that are on the other end in terms of abuse and all of that. I really appreciate you bringing that up so that I don't need to. But absolutely, even with another human being, Let's say you're looking at 10 characteristics. You can focus on the two that are negative, or you can focus on the eight that are positive. And by focusing on the eight that are positive, you'll be happier, you'll be more appreciative, you'll be more grateful. And even that 2% that's there out of the eight, it's there because without that, where would unconditional love be? Right?
Yeah, so so true. I mean, I have to follow up before we move on with the other steps to, or the secrets, if you will, to a happy relationship with someone. Why do you think, and I say this here in the United States, this culture, that there are so many people, men and women. Let's be clear, right? Who often will sort of make their source of unhappiness about someone
Oh,
else. Right.
absolutely.
And do you think that's something? And I ask this because so many people are parents or guardians or care for children, mentor children. Is there something we can change, perhaps on the childhood spectrum, how we interact with children or the attitude? Because I'm thinking with so many people massively believing that he or she's the reason I'm unhappy, it makes me think it's something we're doing wrong on that, on when it's come to rearing children.
So, one thing we can do right away, whether it's with ourselves or the model that we set for our kids, is realizing that only we are responsible for our happiness. And that's something that if you can put into place in a child that you're raising, honey, you're responsible for your happiness. That creates this mindset of, I am the one who's empowered, I'm powerful. I get to control my destiny, I get to control my mood, I get to control the direction in which and the flavor with which I choose to see things. And
That's
I
so.
think that's very powerful.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right because, and perhaps Mona, that would probably be even in situations as parents, what we show them, we tolerate and accept from others. Would that not be, because you're right? You're saying we have to show them that we're empowered, and we're talking about both mom and dad, whoever is, in that child's life, if they're being raised by an aunt or a grandmother or grandfather, that there is certain behavior of devalue you just can't tolerate, right? I mean, and it's not about anger or bitterness, but by saying, and as my father always says, you can't change people, but you can change who's in that story. And even in a sense of like this, what you say when you say relationship starts from within, I would imagine that we also have to set boundaries.
Yes, but I wasn't talking about boundaries, but it is. That comes from knowing yourself, knowing what's right for you, knowing what's not right for you. Absolutely. And that actually brings us to our third principle, which is acceptance. Accepting people and situations as they are. Have you noticed that when you're not feeling peaceful inside, there's something that you're not accepting? So you can't have peace of mind without acceptance. And acceptance is so powerful. So I've been teaching these Art of Living programs for so many years, even before I was married. And one thing I noticed as I was helping people navigate their lives was that acceptance was so key in a relationship. Because when you're not having that acceptance, you
Okay,
have in your mind, oh, if you change this, then I'll accept you. Now, how would we feel if someone kept that as a barrier for unconditional love for us? We
correct.
wouldn't feel comfortable, right?
Yes, that's a good
Well,
point.
and acceptance is not passive. It's not, oh, they can do whatever they want or whatever, but just coming at it with acceptance. For example, like with a child.
Okay.
So when your child does something, Shayna, you don't just say, okay, you know what, three strikes, you're out. I'm just done. It's not like that. There's unconditional love as a parent that you have for your child. And through that unconditional love, you guide them and support them and mold them.
That's
So
beautiful.
just so many things that are bothering you, like they leave their wet towels on the floor or dishes in the sink or whatever that might be. Just acceptance can take that relationship so much further.
And,
Um,
and Mona, when you say acceptance, the A word, and thank you for everyone watching us right now. You are watching Let's Talk America Radio. I'm Shayna Thornton, on air host and executive producer. We're speaking with the one and only. She is the happiness advocate, talking about Mona Shah-Joshi. And Mona is breaking down some great tips to achieve a happy relationship, be it romantic, platonic, within family structures, and she's really helping us out. She just spoke about acceptance. I want to dive into acceptance a little more. And you're saying it shouldn't really be used as leverage because, right? I mean, if there's love, if there's respect, if there's value there, we're going to be in this together. Let's talk more about acceptance, though, because you said it's not passive, right? You're saying it's something that cannot be seen as that. So do we, and I want to make this clear, when you say acceptance, I keep thinking somehow it's about boundaries of what makes us comfortable in the relationship journey. Is that true? Would it be boundaries set to some degree?
It's about the other person, first of all. Acceptance is about, can I accept this person as he or she is? Can I see the divinity in this person? And starting from that place. And that is true in any relationship, whether you look at a father and their daughter, if you look at a mother and her son,
Okay,
if you look at romantic relationships, friendships, where would we be without acceptance?
good point.
All of us are craving unconditional love, but to what extent are we willing to give that out to others?
So, in so many words, when you say the acceptance and saying it's unconditional, you're saying that we also have to accept people as they are. That's not saying that we cannot be disappointed by decisions that are made, but you're also saying people make mistakes. Like you said, I mean, children make mistakes, but it's still unconditional love. Is that true? Is that fair?
Yes, and actually, a mistake is corrected more through unconditional love than through, I don't want to, not unconditional. For example, if let's say a child, yeah, let's say a child is exhibiting a behavior that you don't want them to exhibit. If you tell them, don't do this, I hate it when you do this, it annoys me when you do this, they may or may not change. Let's face it, right? But if you come at it from acceptance, when you do this, this is how this hurts you, then they're more likely to change.
I see. I love that. It's really being able to be committed to the relationship or the longevity of the relationship. Is that fair?
That's also fair, and commitment is important.
Yes.
So often, if you are in a committed relationship, we're not talking about someone who you just went out with in a few dates and are figuring things out. You've got all the freedom to say yes or no, figure things out. But you're in a committed relationship. Keeping that commitment is really powerful. My parents, before my father transitioned, they were married for almost 50 years. My grandparents, before my grandfather transitioned, were married for 54 years. My husband and I just celebrated on Friday 21 years together of being married. So, commitment, because you do go through ups and downs, you go through difficulties and challenges, and not just, um, okay, well, the tough times are here, it's not working out. Riding through that together, and then you come out even stronger on the other side.
Yeah. It's such a great point. We are talking about tips to a happy relationship, long term lasting. And you heard her say herself, Mona said that there are going to be ups and downs in relationships, right? If we're talking romantic relationships, marriage, if we're talking between friends, there are going to be ups and downs, right? There's an old
Absolutely.
adage that I say when people say, "Oh, we never have a disagreement," I say, "Oh, you must live apart, never really talk to each other." So that there you go. But I want to, when you bring up longevity and commitment, uh, obviously being human, the first thing that pops in my head is she's right. But how successful or effective is that journey going to be if only one person's committed? And I know that's the part people don't want to discuss, Mona. It's an elephant in the room, right? Because we're sort of taught where, I mean, a lot of women are to some degree, well, the prince will come and it will work, and it will work because I want it to work. But what happens when both are not on the same page and both are not committed to that?
I had not even thought of that because in my head, they're both committed. This is what a relationship is. So, they need to get on the same page. They need to figure that out. They need to have that conversation of where are we going? How do you see this? And also look at where they're coming from. If they're a child of a broken situation, a broken relationship, what is their understanding now of how relationships work? Some people, having come out of that situation, have very clear ideas of, I'm going to make this work. And others may not.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
this could happen in any kind of situation, not to even say that you're coming from a broken home or not. But to get on the same page is important
Yeah,
for sure.
and I think you're right. I mean, you have to really evaluate where it is. And then I'll say this, and obviously we're talking about tips for a happy relationship, but you did start off by saying the most important relationship to be content with is with yourself. And God forbid if the other person is not on that same page and not unwilling to do it, I think you go back to your first tip. You have to be comfortable within and you have to do what's best for yourself to keep that relationship healthy, the one that lies within.
That lies within. And in terms of that relationship with yourself, I would say the relationship that you have with yourself is also the relationship that you have with the divine,
Okay.
with God. Haven't you seen this? That when people are upset with themselves, they feel that God is being upset with them or is harsh on them or whatever it might be.
Wow.
So just kind of, if you can figure that out and that bridge between the two, that's very powerful.
Wow.
And truly, I mean, no matter what happens in this world, this is the relationship that no matter where you go, it's going to be with you always. That
Yeah.
relationship with
Yeah.
yourself.
And that's so key. And I happen to believe the relationship with yourself and for people of faith, the relationship you have with God will get you through, right? No matter what you go through. If the relationship with the other person or persons is happy or not. What else should we know when it comes to maintaining, gaining the relationship with whoever we love, whoever we seek to keep it happy and content and going?
Is to not make the other person the focus of all of your energy.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Because so I will say that's something interesting that I'm sure many people are listening to us right now saying, well, wait a minute, wait. I mean, he wants me to make it all about him. She wants me to make it all about him. But you're saying, and I know you're going to explain more, that's not necessarily the ideal thing to do.
A relationship requires space for love to grow. So, for example, you start off with attraction, right?
Yeah.
And if that attraction is immediately fulfilled, then it just dies out. For example, let's say you want the latest iPhone or something like that, and you get it right away. It's done. Okay, I've got it. But if you have to wait for it, then the attraction for that grows. I mean, I'm using a material example to explain something that's,
Sure.
you know, right, emotional and spiritual and all that. But the point is, so when attraction is allowed space, then it becomes love. So I come from a culture that believes that longing precedes love. And when that love is allowed to be, and it's allowed, not crushed, it's not suffocated, it's not choked out, when that's given space, that love itself becomes devotion. And I saw that with my grandparents for many years, and then with my parents also um, in those last years when we were all grown up and on our own. I saw how their love had become more of a devotional love to each other. My grandfather, when he would come home from work, every evening my grandmother would make a plate of fruit for him. And there was some health issue by which he couldn't eat the peel of the grapes. He had many health issues, including diabetes and whatever. And we were sitting in the kitchen, and she's like lovingly peeling those grapes as we're chatting. So that, and my mom also continued that tradition. If she would have a plate of fruit, my dad didn't have those same health issues. So she didn't have to peel grapes or anything, but she would have a plate of fruit ready for him when he came home from work. So just those simple, I saw that grow, I saw that evolve.
Okay.
And that does come with commitment over time,
Yeah.
but space, allowing the other person space to grow, to be with friends, to, you know, if you're spending all 24 hours, 7 days a week together, it can become a bit much
Yeah.
sometimes.
Mm.
But maybe one person goes out with her friends for a vacation, if that's what works for you. Or, that space creates longing, and that again rekindles the love.
And I have to ask this as we begin to wrap up on the great tips, of course, that Mona is sharing with us about achieving and maintaining a happy relationship. I want to bring up the T word. How important is trust in a relationship, and not just romantic, not just dating, you want to be engaged or you're married, but we're talking platonic with friendships as well. I mean, because even a level of friendship has to have trust there as well, Mona. So how important is it, and how important is it to reciprocate it back as well, to show that we have an open, honest relationship, if it's a friendship or whatever sort of relationship it is, and that we're also giving that back to the other person.
Shanna, wouldn't you agree that trust is everything? I mean, you have to trust the other person. Otherwise, you'll become an emotional wreck when they're not in your presence. Who are they with? What are they doing? Or, as you said, friendships. One of the worst things that you can do in a friendship is to betray each other and destroy that level of trust that you have. So, trust, I fully agree with you. It's so key to any relationship. And also just having faith in the other person. You spoke about faith in God, but I think we need to start with that level of once you are at a particular place with that person, but to have that level of trust with them. Have faith in that other person that they'll do right by you.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to perhaps a relationship with yourself. And if perhaps, and you said this, I mean, you would assume that everybody's on the same page, but if you find yourself with a friend or
Mm.
whoever it is that you can't trust, and maybe there's some valid, legitimate reasons why, then maybe you just have to evaluate that. And like you said, go back to the relationship with yourself first, value and love yourself, and find the strength to do what's needed either way.
Either way, to find the strength to do what's needed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So key. As we wrap up, Mona, such a great conversation, one that's timely, I'm sure, for whatever man or woman is watching us right now. What is the final nugget they should take with them to really, I want to say, achieve or gain and maintain healthy relationships? Because you know just as well as I do, Mona, that relationships are so key to us, right? Be it mother and child, even between your neighbors, right? That tension can help you watch out for their home and vice versa, whatever it is, even on a job, right? A relationship between a supervisor and a team member. It's so key because that often allows us to be as productive as possible. What would be that final nugget?
Don't go looking for love. Know that you are love. Just like the body's made up of amino acids, carbohydrates, fats, proteins, the spirit in you is pure love. You are love. That is what you are. Radiate to the world. That is what you are. And nobody can take that away from you.
Wow. I mean, that is powerful. You're loved. I mean, that is such a great point, Mona, because, and I think it really is the wrap up theme of this conversation because you kept going to know the relationship of yourself, be able to trust, give out all those great traits. But also, you're right, I guess, and that's a check in because if you're saying, well, it was great and the happiness was there a year in, but 3 years later it's not, you still have value and you're still loved with regardless of who you're with, right? Is that the important part?
Value,
Yeah.
you still are loved because you are love. Yes.
Yeah.
I love how you said that, Shayna.
That's so key. What a great conversation with the one and only happiness advocate, Mona Shah-Joshi. I love this debut appearance on this show with us. You provided so much great information. Where can our viewers and listeners go for information?
Well, to find out more about the programs that the Art of Living Foundation offers, they can visit the foundation at artofliving.org. And to get in touch with me, they can reach out to me directly at Shayna. Can I leave my website? I mean, my email address with you?
Sure,
It's
and I will provide it certainly when this is live as well. But go ahead and share it verbally for us today.
it's Madhurina at artofliving.org, Madhurina at artofliving.org to find out about courses that I'm teaching.
I love that. I love that. I mean, and you taught us so much over these last few minutes. So I can only imagine what else that you have going for us. I love it. I love it. I love it. Mona, you know, this 2020 has been a trying year for citizens around the globe. 2021 continues to offer its challenges, talking about COVID and other situations as well. I know we talked about the key to relationships. But when it comes to stress, really quick as we close out, do you have any information or golden nugget for our viewers? Maybe they're dealing with a lot. Maybe they're dealing with some financial situations. Maybe it's some health concerns going on. How do you deal with all that and still move forward and be productive?
Honestly, take this Art of Living program, the Art of Living workshop, because you'll learn a breathing technique that will just transform how you look at yourself, that eliminates stress and brings in such clarity and peace of mind. At least that has been my experience.
Wow. So
So,
peace of mind
breath
is, I mean,
in.
so you're saying definitely, I know you're speaking of your program, but you're saying, I mean, really people should find a way to get peace of mind.
Absolutely. And breath is so key towards that. So, until someone is able to take the course, just being aware of your breath for a few minutes every day can have such a transformative effect in how you feel and in centering yourself. It's
Wow.
powerful stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so great information. People can help with so many different concerns, especially stress, and something they can do that's free, right, Mona? I mean, you're saying if they learn the techniques, they can really empower themselves.
Absolutely. And I think we all need to because we are in a challenging time at whatever level. And also, as a parent, we need to model healthy ways of coping with stress
Point.
for the younger generation because unconsciously or consciously, they pick up our habits.
That is so, so true. I mean, so many experts that we've had on Let's Talk America Radio, Mona, keep saying that a lot of times, not all the times, but a lot of issues from adulthood come from broken childhoods, trauma that was never healed and addressed. And I love it when you said, even consciously or subconsciously, we do pass on even our fears, our joys, our tensions. Children pick that up. And most moms and dads know that, right? I mean, they can feed off, especially mom.
Absolutely.
I love it. Mona, thank you so much for being with us here on Let's Talk America Radio. A joy to have you on. We're going to have you back on very, very soon. I hope you'll take us up on that offer.
I would love to be back, Shayna. Thank you.
I love it. Everyone, thanks for watching Let's Talk America Radio on this Sunday night. If you like this episode, we encourage you to share it. We encourage you to tag a friend, someone you love. We just wrapped up an awesome conversation with the one and only happiness advocate, Mona Shah-Joshi, and she shared so much great information. She mentioned managing the stress at the end. So find a way to make that happen. Continue to watch Let's Talk America Radio. Visit ltaradio.com. That's ltaradio.com, or connect with us here on the fabulous Facebook, also on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, you name it, we're out there. We're even on TikTok. So watch our videos, connect with us. We do follow back. Thank you so much for all of your support. Many of you may already be aware, but we have 8 full years under our belt of Let's Talk America Radio. It's been an amazing journey. Thank you so much for that digital clap there, Mona. It's been an amazing journey. We are committed to delivering objective, worthy news talk, keeping you and the loved ones you know informed. You're busy, you have a lot going on. We understand that. But having the right knowledge, the objective knowledge is so, so key. We believe that you happen to be sharp enough to take that knowledge and apply it when necessary to come up with your own ideas and opinions. Imagine that notion. We still believe that and committed to bringing you important news talk. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Continue to mask up, okay? And we love you here on Let's Talk America Radio. Thank you so much for your time, Mona. Take care. See you later, LTN Radio family.